How long has the siege of Pokeran lasted already? It's hard to tell, when every day is a struggle for survival. Before the war, I was a fireman, married, 2 beautiful daughters, a man who enjoyed helping people. My family fled to the countryside when everything started, but I had a lot of fires to fight in that time. Phones stopped working, food and medicine got scarce, and shelling was ordinary business almost every night. Shitty days led to shittier days, and before you knew it, you would kill for a good night's rest without fucking gunshots under your window. I waited and hoped for our side to win. After some time, I changed my mind and hoped for our side to lose already. So many nights, so many deaths. I was lucky enough to survive the first phase, and smart enough to abandon my home before the second started. One way or the other, I found allies. We were 3. Bruno, who had become my friend a long time before the war. Pavle, who wasn't good at anything besides soccer. And me. My name is Marko. We decided to move away from the hottest combat zones and found ourselves a big, broken piece of shit in the middle of the mostly destroyed suburbs. There were no other people inside, but a lot of useful junk we could patch up with some time and spit. At least as soon as we could manage to dig them out of all the rubble blocking the mostly destroyed frontside. I felt a little sick at the time. Bruno had a nasty bruise in his side. Not dangerous, but slowly healing and obviously painful. But at least we didn't have to worry about soldiers or shelling for the time being. One of the houses in the neighborhood got destroyed the day we moved in, but that probably wasn't more than some asshole aiming the wrong way for some reason. I went there myself that very night, going in with nothing but my crowbar, but coming out with as much stuff as I could possibly carry, while Bruno and Pavle guarded our shelter. After that much time in the city, we knew where we could expect soldiers, and as long as we only moved at night, we were safe from the snipers. But there were other people in our area as well. Some friendly, some not so much. Some so broken you couldn't possibly tell anymore. The story I am about to tell you is about 2 of them. Stupid, stupid Matej and his poor old father. I met Matej for the first time one night after we found our new hideout. I was on a scavenging run again, as I would be every night from now on. I was stronger and a better climber than the others, and Bruno was wounded anyway. We had spent all day getting settled in our new home. We were able to build a bed, a cooking space. We even managed to crack open the cabinets on the upper level, but we all were tired and hungry. The garage where Matej and his father lived was a place like any other, but it was littered with spare parts and building materials. I believe they were running a car repair together before the war started. As soon as I came closer, he opened the door and called out to me. He told me he needed meds for his dad and asked if I wanted to trade. Matej was an impulsive fella, and he sucked at bargaining. I could see in his eyes how desperately he needed the medicine, and as a matter of fact I had some on me. And although coughing a little, I gladly handed it over for the incredible treasures he offered me. The boy showed me everything he had and let me pick, only barely making sure that I wouldn't just rob him outright. I chose a perfectly good hatchet, a saw blade and a lockpick, essential tools when scavenging. Behind him inside the garage I could hear his father talk to himself while we sealed our deal with a handshake. I will never forget that thankful look in his eyes. The thing was, on the roof there was a tightly locked door leading to the back half of the garage. As soon as I discovered it, I made my way back down and peeked through the keyhole. Matej was just standing there, probably lost in thought, but what mattered was that he was still right there and nowhere else. So I made my way onto the roof a second time, making sure that I wouldn't make too much noise this time. I told you that I used to be a man who enjoyed helping people. But war and hunger quickly change who we are. I could hear Matej and his father talk right under my feet as I sneaked past them and towards the door. Using the very saw blade Matej just sold me, I was able to break in and take a look around. The rooms here were empty, and I realized I could have just accessed them from the other side of the area. While beating myself up over the fact that I just had wasted my saw blade, I took notice of a ladder leading to the lower level. There was another door here, and this one looked like a lockpick would be enough to open it. After a few moments, the door swung open, and only then did I fully realize that I had just found my way into the private property of Matej and his father. I'm not saying that what I did was right. I'm just saying I did what I did. At this point I had wasted a saw blade and a lockpick, and I refused to leave empty-handed. On the floor above me I could hear Matej's father mumble sickly while I went through their stashes and took whatever I felt worth carrying, telling myself what a waste it was to spend good medicine on a man who wouldn't live much longer anyway. Then I could hear Matej's footsteps on the floor above me and took my leave. When I returned to the others the next morning, I told them about all the valuable stuff I found. Partly excited and partly feeling bad for what I had done, I closed the door behind me when I realized the look on my friends' faces. We had been raided while I was gone, and although we managed to fend off the attackers and no one got hurt, I could see nonetheless how shaken up Bruno and Pavle still were. It must have been rough. They were busy with their own thoughts, and I was tired like hell, so I decided to not tell them straight away and go to bed instead. After 2 days, Bruno cooked something for the first time in our new shelter, and Pavle even used our new hatchet to chop down most of the furniture in order to gain some materials and fuel for his stove. But I slept like a dead man. Later that day, a stranger knocked on our door. Bruno told me afterwards how afraid he was in that moment, but he turned out to be a friendly dealer by the name of Franco, who brought all kinds of goods with him. Bruno figured it would be smart to trade as many of our belongings as possible for cheap but heavy building materials, so I wouldn't have to spend night after night carrying planks and nothing but planks to our shelter, just so we could board up the breaches in our walls. He even gave my trusty crowbar away. By the time I woke up and told him and Pavle about last night, he not only had upgraded our workshop, but even managed to build a rainwater collector and a device we could use to distill hard liquor, commonly known as moonshine. It tasted awful and basically consisted of nothing but water and sugar, but we probably would be able to trade it against something valuable. When I told my friends about Matej and his father and what I had done to them, Pavle was genuinely shocked. But Bruno didn't seem to mind too much, and only asked instead if I thought I had been seen. I declined, and he only shrugged his shoulders and said something like, either them or us. That's what I always liked about him. He always knew how to calm me down. There were a lot of different locations I could have visited on my nightly expeditions. But from that night onwards I returned to Matej's garage every night. I brought medicine when I could, moonshine when I couldn't, but I didn't come back to his place every night because I wanted to make up for something. I didn't even like Matej, and I hated the way he nervously touched his pistol every time we traded. First I had just wanted to find out if he knew that it was me who stole from him. It was probably a dangerous and stupid thing to do, but I did it anyway. You can imagine how surprised I was when he didn't even mention it. Not only did he behave just the same as the night before, he even seemed as if he hadn't noticed the missing goods at all. He didn't look good, and every consecutive night he looked a little worse. No matter at what time I arrived at his place, he was always awake, always looked like shit, and the desperate, almost broken expression on his face caused a strange sensation inside of me. I was torn apart, thinking two opposite things at the same time. On one hand, I told myself that I was actually helping him, because I brought medicine for his dad after all. But on the other hand, I only did that because he paid so well. And every night, after checking what he had to offer, I would wait for him to turn around. And then I would climb up the same roof and head for the same goddamn door again. Down the ladder on the backside and treat myself on the slowly diminishing amount of valuables still left in their stash. You see, Matej never fixed the damn back door, and after a few nights I started to secretly wish he would lock it again and found myself not bringing lockpicks almost on purpose. But the door was always open and there was still a bit of everything: food, electrical parts, weapons, tools. Whatever I could possibly wish for, it was there, except medicine. Which was weird, as he even showed me he had some. Obviously not much, but time and time again he would show me through his mix of tradable goods. And there would be a bottle of pills in there, or that useless herb-based medicine nobody really believes in. I knew he had a reserve, and I knew it had to be up there in his father's room. And at some point it got me thinking, about the whole thing, wasting perfectly good medicine on a dying man. And I'm not gonna lie, my cough had become worse. And after almost a week we got raided again and Pavle got wounded quite badly, and we had no bandages, no painkillers. All we could do was splash some fucking moonshine on the wound 3 times a day, while Matej fed all our meds into that bottomless pit of a disease that was his father. They probably weren't helping at all, really. You most likely get where this is going, so I'll cut to the chase. It took me 2 or 3 days, thinking and fucking thinking about it, and if I just had found some meds somewhere else, the whole thing might have gone another way. But where to find it really, when all I did was returning to the same goddamn garage every night to carry more and more of that retard stuff back to our hideout. It seemed smart, it was safe, we got a great deal of stuff out of the trading with Matej alone, even after only bringing booze anymore. But that irresistible back door was what made me really go back every night. I knew I had to move on to other locations eventually, because I had picked the place almost clean already, and still that wreck of a guy didn't seem to notice. And he still had meds. He was done for anyway, right? I mean, cracked like a nut somewhere along the way. So the time finally came, when I was about to leave for my nightly trip, when I saw that hatchet, Matej's hatchet, that he gave to me that first night, leaning on the wall next to our door. And you know what? I took it with me. Matej greeted me, as always, oblivious to what was about to happen. For a second I considered talking to him, telling him how pointless all of his actions were, and that his father was gonna die one way or the other eventually. For a moment I even considered telling him to... well, to do what exactly? To stop me, I guess. Please, bring some bandages or medication. Sounding like the shittiest broken record of all time. That helped clear my mind a little bit, but not enough. I said goodbye, like every night, and left his field of vision. Firstly hoping that he would go back inside so I could possibly surprise him. And secondly to consider one last time if I really wanted to do this. My thoughts went back to the meds in there, and to Bruno who guarded our shelter, wounded as he was. It only took me a second to decide, really. When I opened the door, I hesitated nonetheless, giving Matej the chance to turn around. He saw me, he even saw the hatchet I was carrying. I have no idea what he was thinking. When I attacked, he tried to react and he even managed to land a quick hit, but there was blood on my hatchet already. And his genuine surprise, I still can't believe it. That was when his father opened the door, saw his son lying in a quickly growing pool of his own blood. He looked at me for a second. It was the first time we ever actually met. But then he went right by me and fell on his knees next to Matej. It felt like minutes, but in retrospect I can say that I probably didn't look at him for longer than a second. There was no point in leaving him alive, no matter if I wanted to help or not. It only took 2 swift blows to silence him. And then I went to search for the meds.